प्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् पराम् अम्बिकाम्। ॐ ध्यायेन्नित्यं महेशम् रजतगिरिनिभं चारुचन्द्रावतंसं रत्नाकल्पोज्ज्वलाङ्गं परशुमृगवरा भीतिहस्तं प्रसन्नं पद्मासीनं समन्तात् स्तुतममरगणैः व्याघ्रकृत्तिं वसानं विश्वाद्यं विश्वबीजं निखिलभयहरं पञ्चवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रम्। ॐ नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वोऽपि निषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्।
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकः पाण्डवाश्चैव किं कुर्वत सञ्जय। श्री भगवान् उवाच क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वयुपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्तोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच किं तत् ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते। श्री भगवान् उवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्म उच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्गः कर्म संज्ञितः। अर्जुन उवाच अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्री भगवान् उवाच अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञो मेऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणममावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमेपेति दिव्यम् सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोवृत्तिनिरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणान् आस्थितो योगधारणम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्म ब्रह्मविदो जनाः धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते शुक्लकृष्णे गतीयेते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिम् अन्यया वर्तते पुनः नैते श्रुति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपःसु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्तेति तत् सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाध्यम्
Very nice. Thank you, Pranav. So where were we? Adhyay 10. We finished 12, right?
Today is 16, I think.
No. Okay, you're right. We did finish 13. You're right. Right. Yes. Very nice. Okay. So recap up till now. It's very interesting. Bhagavan starts by saying, right, that listen to my supreme word. Me paramam vachaha shrunu, which seeking your good I shall speak to you, who delight in it. Then Bhagavan goes on to explain that, neither the devas or the asuras know him, nor even the maharishis, right? And then he describes himself Ajam, Anadim, etc. And then he starts by describing himself in terms of the qualities, which we said, including the Shatka Sampatti. Some of the yamas and niyamas are included in verses 4. Buddhir Jnanam, Asammoha, Kshama, etc. Ahimsa, Samatta, 4 and 5. Then he describes himself in the way that people who are reading the Puranas will understand. a nice story of creation, right? The 7 great seers, Maharshaya, Saptapurve, Chatvaro. See, we have to remember this is now chapter 10. So we are, if the mind was not satisfied with chapter 2, then some beautiful stories are going to be told, right? To increase the mind more. This is pondering. Okay, these are the progeny. Nikam Vipim Yogam Cha Mama Yo Vepitam. Who knows the vast power and yoga of mind will be endowed with Abhikampena Yogi. Yujati na atrasam. Oh, heaven wants to stop with it. Okay. But if one is not satisfied with 7, then move on to 8. I am the source of all beings, etc. And then he describes who are the ones who find contentment always, nityam tushyanti ramanti cha, right, etc. And he grants this buddhi yogam, right? Acha. Then comes 11. So, up till this stage, one could stop right there. He has said everything that needs to be said. But then the mind doesn't want to stop there. It wants to read more, right? So then he says, moved by compassion for the devotees, dwelling in their mental states, with knowledge I destroy darkness of ignorance. Jnana deepena bhasvata nashayami ajnanajam tamaha. Then again, Arjuna says again the one verse with which you don't have to go any further. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. You are the Supreme Brahman, Supreme Abode, Supreme Sanctification. You are also the everlasting Divine Spirit. See, if one is satisfied with this, then you just have to sit in dhyan and the whole matter is over. Right? Nothing more to be said, strictly speaking. But then, the Bhakt in Arjuna, he is not satisfied, right? He goes on. He says, after all, right, this is all encompassing, right? Number 12, right? It's kind of like when we go to a class. Some of you who have been TAs and teachers will know this. You see, if I say F equals MA, force equals mass times acceleration, I don't need to do 50 statics problems to explain F equals MA to a student who understands the principle. Yes or no? If you understand the principle, you can apply it everywhere, right? But every time I teach the class, I say, we want to see more examples. Don't give us this theory. We want to see more worked out examples. Have you noticed this? Common complaint. Pawan will, I'm sure, relate. Right? Please don't bore us with this theory. We want to see lots of examples.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is because a very brilliant professor in my field, Forman Williams, he's a NAE, etc. He wrote a book called Combustion Theory. In the preface of the book, this man is so deep. At the age of 30 or something, he was at Harvard and wrote his book. And he wrote there are 2 kinds of learners. They are inductive learners and deductive learners. The inductive learner learns only by seeing examples. Okay? You have to show 1,000 examples. The deductive learner learns the law and then doesn't need any more examples. The mind is smart enough to apply the law. Right? What I'm saying is, if you're a deductive learner, you don't need to go beyond 12. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, that's it. He is a supreme Brahman. Already 1,000 people have told you Brahman is everything. Then what more is there to say? Apply your mind to him and be done with it. Right? This is, for the deductive learner, this will be quite boring. Actually, beyond chapter 2 will be quite boring in the Gita. To the deductive learner. That person will apply themselves to Abhyas Yoga and straight path. Right? But the inductive learner wants to see the worked out examples. That's fine. After all, we have to acknowledge there are 2 types of learners. A good teacher See, Bhagavan is he would have got always 5 rating in all his teaching evaluations because he did not restrict himself to the deductive learner, right? He is able to teach everyone. His psychology is appealing to all types because he already said, Chaturvidha bhajante mam, fourfold types people seek me. So this is the Sarva Gyatritvam. This is a very high level of knowledge. No sincere seeker of Bhagavan will ever find lacking. In limited teachers like me, you will find lacking. They'll say, oh, I can only teach this kind of person. Go away. Right? But not with the Lord. Right? His teaching is supreme. So now he says, and now he is listening to Arjuna. Right? Arjuna is saying, okay, I've said all this, but nevertheless, please tell me more. Right? He says, you are the supreme spirit, the cause of all beings, the Lord of all beings, God of gods, the world's Lord. Only you yourself know the self by yourself. So then he says in 16, Vaktum arhasi asheshena divya hi atma vibhutaya. You really ought to say, recount in its entirety your divine powers. Yabhir vibhuti bihi lokan imam stvam vyapya tishtasi. Yabihi, by means of which vibhuti bihi, these divine powers, these words, imam lokan, tvam, you, vyapya, pervading, tishtasi, you abide. Beautiful verse, right? Okay. Katham vidyamaham yogim swam sada parisintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyo asi bhagavan maya. We have not read this one, right? 17, is that right? According to Shiva's reckoning?
No, I think should do 16 today.
Oh, we should do 16. I see.
Yeah.
So please, somebody read 16. This is very nice. You indeed ought to recount, and then we will read translation. Who is, Pranav had set up a chat system to pick up readers. Reading list. Let us read 16.
I can go.
Please.
वक्तुमर्हस्य शेषेण दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः या विर्विभूतिभिर्लोकान् लोकानिमांस्त्वं व्याप्य तिष्ठसि.
Right. Very good. Yeah, the breaking there, if you had continued with Lokan Imam, totally right. Lokan Imam, very nice. This is a difficult one, long sandhi. Okay, you ought indeed to recount in their entirety. He said, Vaktum arhasi, you ought to say. Asheshena, without any remainder. So in its entirety. Divya vibhutayaha, divyaha vibhutayaha, powers divine. Atma vibhutaya, your personal powers. Verily, you must recount. And then again, last piece I already said, by which you have pervaded all these worlds, right? And you reside, you abide. This grandeur. So, Bhaktum iti, you ought to set them forth wholly. Kathayitum arhasi asheshena divyaha hi atma vibhutaya atmano vibhutayo yaha taha bhaktum arhasi yabihi vibhutibihi atmano mahatmya vistaraihi, expansive grandeur. Iman lokan tvam vyapit tishtasi, you pervade and abide in these worlds. We see only one world through the 5 senses. People are only aware of one bhuloka. But there are other realms of perception moving upward. Bhor bhuva sova mahajana tapasatya. And if the mind is caught up by the Shadripus, it can also descend into the 7 nether worlds very easily, all the way to Patal. not difficult at all, right? But we don't recognize those worlds as they are, right? That recognition of the lokas through direct experience is reserved for those who practice. It's a yoga siddhi. So Arjuna says, for everyone you must recount, so that at least intellectually they may be aware of your powers, right? So now, of course, in today's world, because Shraddha and Bhakti are low, people will dismiss these as fanciful notions, right? But they're not fanciful notions. What is real and what is fanciful depends on the state of the mind. Right? Think about this. I'll give you a simple example. You get down from the steps to your house. You've gotten down those steps many, many times, right? So let's say the last step is 6 inches high. You know the step perfectly well, right? I take you to the optometrist and I get you a new pair of glasses. And I ask you to step down that step. Can you tell me what you will feel?
Sense of loss of sense of distance. I mean,
it will change. Have you experienced this? Yes or no?
Yes.
Simple example. Why don't we think about these things? Has the length of the step changed? We don't think so. According to a certain measurement, it hasn't changed. Right? So you believe the measurement of the SI system, it hasn't changed. But your sense of it has changed. Right? And it will take you some time to get adjusted to it. Once you've worn the glasses for 6 months, you will not have a problem. How wondrous is this Maya? Huh? Tell me. What is real then? Was the original perception real or the second perception real? Or the third perception after you got adjusted to the glasses, is that real? Or is the SI length real? See, you cannot say. None of them lasted in time. Now you wear same pair of glasses, 12 years later, your eyesight has worsened. Glasses haven't changed. Now you can't see the same step correctly. But yet we hold on to our beliefs very strongly, right? They must be right. After all, they came from us. So this is within your own loka, within Bhulokam itself, your sense of perception is not absolute, right? So therefore, with Shraddha, one can at least consider with some openness what Bhagavan is going to say now, right? So next one, 70. Katham Vidyamaham, please.
I can read.
Please.
Katham vidyam aham yogin tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintayosi bhagavan maya.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, O yogi, tvam sada parichintayan. How shall I ever contemplating? Katham vidyami aham. How shall I know you? In what way? Keshu cha bhaveshu. In what ways? Thinking of you. In what all objects am I to meditate on you? Keshu cha bhaveshu vastushu chintyah asi dhyeyah asi bhagavan maya. Tvam sada parichintayan. How shall I know you? Always contemplating. Katham vidyam vijaniyam aham hey yogin. So then he's asking again very sweetly to the Lord, 18.
I can go.
Hmm.
विस्तरेण आत्मनो योगम विभूतिं च जनार्दन भूय भूयः कथय तृप्तिर श्रीवतो नास्ति मे मे स्मृतम.
Amritam, yes. Vistaren Atmano Yogam Vibhutim cha Janardana. O Janardana, once more recount at length your yoga and powers. Bhuyah Kathaya Triptirhi Shrinvato Nasti Me Amrita. Shrinvataha, listening, right? Na Triptirhi, I am not satisfied. Right? Listening to what? This Amritam, this ambrosial account. Bhuyaha Kathaya. So please tell me, for I am not sated. Once more recount, because I am not sated as I listen to this ambrosial account. Vistarena iti. He's not saying, so earlier he said, Bhagavan always says, Samasena me shruno. Listen to my thing in conciseness, in essence. But now, delighting in that, after the 10 chapters, Arjuna doesn't want a samas. He says, tell me in, so this is beautiful, right? When one encounters that ambrosial nature of the Lord, you want to not stop drinking, right? Sometimes you will notice, even when the bell for the Gita class has started, there is a reluctance. I take some time to come and say Om and join you, for no other reason than that one doesn't want to leave the bliss of the Lord, right? You cannot get enough of it. How much ever you enjoy it, experience it, it is inexhaustible, that source of bliss. Now, Arjuna is saying, Arjuna is more advanced. That has now permeated his living, his daily life. It has permeated his waking state. So now he's trying to, of course, also by great bhagyam, he had the Lord as his charioteer, right? So now he's saying, oh, this is wonderful. You have told me all this truth. Now tell me everything. Don't stop, please. I mean, this is how we are when sometimes, when you read, first time you read, I remember my daughter and my own childhood, we start reading some exciting series, right, of novel. When you're a kid, if it's a fantasy series or whatever it is, and you don't want to finish, you want to keep reading that author till you've exhausted every book they have. In our time, we didn't buy the books. There used to be lending libraries in India. So you would go and get it from the lending library. Right? So this is the excitement with which Arjuna is asking Bhagavan Sri Krishna, don't stop. Tell me the whole series. I don't want to just listen to the first story. Right? So this is a beautiful excitement. So let us see the thing. Your yoga, the unique power of yogic lordliness. Yoga Ishwarya Shakti, Vishesham, special, unique. Vibhutim cha Vistaram, scope of objects worthy of meditation. Dhyeya Padarthanam, He Janardana. So remember, there is a verse in the Yoga Sutra that goes, Yatha Abhimatava, or whatever is pleasing to the mind, right? This actually is the list of objects that are pleasing to the mind. Right. So this Yatha Abhimatava appears in the Yoga Sutra as a remedy. So it says that there are 9 obstacles to yogic meditation. And then the question arises, well, what should one do if those obstacles are encountered? And then a set of remedies is given. You can meditate on this, you can meditate on that, on a luminous light, etc. And then in the end comes Yatha Abhimatava, or anything else that is pleasing to the mind. This is a list of those. Right? So there's a nice connection here. So, Gati Karmana Rupam, Ardatihi. Here is a very beautiful explanation of the Janardana. Janardana, Ardatehe Gati Karmana Rupam, is derived from the word root Arda, meaning to send. Hence, the Lord sends the demons, the adversary of the gods, to hell, etc. Or from the root meaning to beg off, since all people pray to him for the human goods of prosperity. Abhyudainaha Shreyas Purushartha Prayojanam Sarvaihi Janaihi Yachete iti Janardana. Bhuyah Purvam Uktamapi Kathaya. I have had no sense of full satisfaction. Triptihi Paritoshaha Hi Yasmat Nasti. As I listen to the ambrosial utterances flowing from your lips. So, then Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Then the Lord spoke. Please. Number 19.
Yeah, I can go. हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः प्राधान्यतः कुरु श्रेष्ठ नास्त्यन्तो विस्तरस्य मे.
It's very beautiful. Hanta, okay, very well. Te kathayashyami. I will tell you. Divyahi Atma Vibhute. I will tell you my divine powers. The prominent ones. Pradhanyataha. The prominent ones. Kuru Sreshta. Oh, excellent of the Kurus. Nasti Antaha. There is no end. Vistarasyami. To my divine. So this is inexhaustible. Right? The characteristic of the Lord is no finitude. Infinite. So he says, I will tell you some of them, prominent ones. So what does Bhagavan say in the commentary? Asheshatastu varsha shatenapi na shakya vaktum. Even after 100 years, they cannot be enumerated. Right? Yataha nasti antaha vistarasya me mama vibhutinam ityartaha. There is no end to the extent of my powers. This is the idea. Tatra prathamameva tavat shunu. Now, in the first place, listen. So, number 20, please.
I can go. Aham atma gudakesha sarva bhutasayasthitaha aham adischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha.
So this is very beautiful. Thank you. Aham atma. I am your very self. Gudakesha. O master of sleep. Sarva bhuta shayasthitaha. So, aham iti, aham atma, pratyag atma gudakesha. I am the self, the subject, O master of sleep. Gudaka is sleep, nidra. Tasyaha ishaha gudakeshaha. Jita nidraha ityarthaha. It is, its Lord is he who has vanquished sleep. Ghana keshaha iti va, or one with thick trest. Sarva bhuta shayasthitaha. As resident in all beings, as residing in the hearts of all beings. There is a part in the Aditya Hridaya Stotram in which the same sense is echoed of Aditya himself. The self worshipped as Aditya. And the sense there is the one who is awake in all beings who are even when they are asleep. This sense is there. And also the Lord of all that happens in all the worlds. These two senses are there in that Aditya Hridaya Sutram, which is being echoed here. And so Bhagavan is saying that I am truly the inner self, inner sense, antar hridi sthitaha, aham atma, pratyag atma, nityam dhyayah, who is to be worshipped at all times, meditated on always. Tad ashaktena cha uttareshu bhaveshu chintyah aham. One not competent to do it may meditate on me as dwelling in objects to be set forth below. So you see, the commentary is echoing what I said some little time before, which is already everything has been said. But if the mind is not able to rest on the self in its pure form, then definitely it can be meditated can be employed in meditation of the objects to be described now by Bhagavan. Now, and why is that? Because aham eva adihi bhutanam karanam tatha madhyam cha sthitihi antah pralayascha. Aham adischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. Again, this brings to mind an earlier verse in the Bhagavad Gita itself, that all beings have unmanifest as their beginning, they are manifest in the middle, and then they return again to the unmanifest. Avyaktadini bhutani, remember? There is a verse like that. So, Bhagavan is again explaining this point. Evam cha dhyayah, I may also be meditated on as follows. So what? How can I be? Please read 21.
I can go. Adityanam aham Vishnum Jyotisham Raviran Suman Marichi Ruma Urta Masi Nakshatra Ramaham Shashi.
Aditya nam aham Vishnu. So of the Adityas, right? 12 Adityas. Aham Vishnu. I am Vishnu. Jyotisham Ravir Amshuman. Of the luminaries, once I am Ravi, the sun. So actually Aditya Hridayam, I was thinking of, that's why it echoes very similarly this thing. Yesha supteshu jagarti bhuteshu parinishtitaha. Right? Supteshu, among the sleeping, always awake, the true self. Right? Bhuteshu, all living beings, parinishtitaha. Right? And then again, the Lord, Prabhu of all actions in all the worlds. Here, returning to this verse, Marichihi, Marutam Asmi, among the Maruts, Asmi, I am Marichi. Maruts are the ones who are the cohorts of Indra. Indra always rejoices with the Maruts, slays Vritra, and Somapa, drinks Soma with them. Right? So, of the Maruts, I am Marichi. Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Among the stars, I am the moon. This is actually a little peculiar because the moon is not typically reckoned as a star, but he's saying that the preeminent luminary among the ones that reflect light. Right? So, I am of the star, Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Of the 12 Adityas, I am Vishnu, Aditi's son. Of the luminaries that illumine, I am the radiant sun. I am Marichi among the storm gods, and among the stars I am the moon. Chandramaha. Then now in this way, the Lord is going to list his preeminent position among all things that are holy. So we can continue reading.
I can read. Vedanam samaveda asmi, devanam asmi vasavah, indriyanam manah cha asmi, bhutanam asmi chetana.
Vedanam Samavedosmi. Samaveda is the preeminent among the Vedas, having also a very extended swara and pitch classification. Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. Of the lords, I am Indra. Now again, you see a particular sense that Indra is lord of the gods, elevated slightly, just like Chandra is elevated from the nakshatras, right? Indriyanam Manaschasmi. Senses controller of that is the Manas. Bhutanam Asmi Chetana. Among all beings, I am intelligence. Bhutanam Asmi Chetana. Karya Karana Sanghate Nitya Vivyakta Buddhi Vrittihi Chetana. Mental modification ever manifests in the conglomerate of body and senses. Of beings, I am intelligence. So, of the gods, Rudras, Aditya, I am Indra. Among the 11 senses like sight, etc., I am the mind. That is essentially imagination and construction. That is Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manas Chasmi. The next one.
I can go. Rudranam Shankarashchasmi Vittesho Yakshraksham Samam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Meruhu Shikhirinamaham.
Rudranam Shankarashchasmi. Among the 11 Rudras, I am Shankara. Vitteshu Yaksha Rakshasam. So this is the Rakshasa gets contracted to Rakshasam. So taken together, both among Yakshas and Rakshasas. Vitteshaha, Kubera. Vitteshaha is Kubera, the Lord of Wealth. Vittasya Ishaha, Vittesha. Vasunam Pavakaschasmi. Among the 8 Vasus, I am the purifying fire. Meruhu Shikha Rinam. Among the mountains, Mount Meru. Within us, Shikaravatam Aham. So again, expressing the preeminence of the Lord in all these classes. Ekadashanam Rudranam Shankarascha Asmi Vittesha Kubera. Very good. Next one. 24.
We can repeat again.
Sure.
Maybe I'll go then. We can put names in chat for future. Purodasam cha mukhyam mam vidhi partha brahaspatim senani namaham skandah sarasamasmi sagarah.
Very nice. Purodasam cha mukhyam mam. I am the chief most. Mam vidhi. Know me to be the chief most, chief among all the priests. Purodasam. Partha Brahaspatim. Lord of the Devas. I mean, Guru of the Devas. Devaguru. Brahaspatim. Senanim aham Skandaha. Among the warlords, I am Skanda. Skanda is the chief commander. Always victorious on the side of the Devas. Right? And among Sarasam Asmi Sagara. Lakes, I am the sea. पुरोदसां च राजपुरोहितानां च मुख्यं प्रधानं मां विद्धि जानीहि हे पार्थ बृहस्पतिं स हि इन्द्रस्य इति मुख्यः स्यात् पुरोदसां सेनानीनां सेनापतीनाम् अहं स्कन्दः देवसेनापतिः right सरसां यानि देवखातानि सरांसि तेषां सरसां सागरः अस्मि भवामि among all the natural lakes I am the sea. Then 25.
महर्षीणां ऋगुरहं गिराम् अस्मेक्मक्षरं यज्ञानां जपयोग्यस्मि स्थावराणां हिमालयः.
Maharshinam Bhriguraham. Among the great Maharshis, I am Bhrigu. Giram Asmi Ekam Aksharam. Among all the utterances, I am Aksharam, Pranav. Yajnanam Japa Yagyo Asmi. Remember, Bhagavan again and again says, that one. Shreyan Dravyamayad Yagyat Jnana Yagyo Parantapa. Sarvam Karma Khilam Partha Jnanam Parisamapati. Right? So, Shreyan Dravyamayad Yagyat Jnana Yagya. So, Yajnanam Japa Yagyo Asmi. I am the sacrifice of the Japa Yagya. Sthavaranam, among the immovables. Savaram Jagamam Chaiva. Himalaya. I am the Himalaya. Among the great seers, I am Bhrigu. Maharshiram Bhrigu Aham. Giram Vacham Padalakshananam Ekam Aksharam Omkaraha Asmi. Yajnanam Japa Yajna Asmi Stavaranam Sthitimatam Himalaya. So now this will continue. We have quite a few very beautiful things. Some of them will remind you of things from the Puranas, things we may have forgotten. A good enumeration of the various parts of our Sanatana Dharma. So that way it is very beautiful. And but we are probably not going to finish till 42 today. So we still have some time. So maybe we can take a pause and take some comments or questions or clarifications. And that we have a relaxed satsang.
So I have probably a technical question. So the way he's enumerating these things, they almost seem like a conception of the universe, right? Like, does it follow from some specific text? Like, is it from like some specific Veda, or this is like the first time it's coming in this order?
So these are actually all the Puranas will have some description of these, right? Definition of Purana actually has to have these things. And so Bhagavan is giving something that is, you may say, the essential aspects of it, right? The challenge, so this is the challenge. So I was saying the other day also when we were talking about Mandukya Upanishad, 12 verses, no dispute, right? So when you start from the very core, the interpretations are not many. There's only one, right? It's very clear. But the experience of that is very hard, right? As we come out, it is easier to understand in some way, but there is a multiplicity of sources. Do you see what I'm trying to say? See, Puranas are more jolly to read than the Mandukya Upanishad. Okay, but there are many Puranas, 18 Mahapuranas, but many others. And they don't all agree with each other in some sense, right? There are points of commonality, there are points of contradiction. There are Sthala Puranas. And the verse, to complicate matters further, there is not only one version of the Purana, sometimes different versions are retrieved. So this can create a challenge. In fact, those in our satsang will know I steered clear of all these for many years. I would not get into all these things because I said, I don't want to confuse everyone and myself and all these things, because it is difficult to ascribe that level of, shall we say, certainty that we have in the Upanishads. But again, like I said, one is brings it closer to the experience through the senses, and the other seems farther, right? So in that sense, to answer your question, to the mind that is first drawn to the form of Vishnu, to the Chandravamshi, right? Definitely all these, one will then have greater faith maybe in the Vishnu Puran, on the other hand, the mind that is drawn more towards, say, the Shaiva traditions will have more faith in the Shiva Puran. But like I told you, there is neither is correct or wrong. In truth, I mentioned to you, through the practice of yoga, if you go to find Vishnu, you will find him at the feet of Shiva. If you go to find Shiva, you will find him at the feet of Vishnu. So in the end, we are seeking that which is beyond even the guna attributes. These are forms of Saguna Brahman, right? So when the wisdom and conviction comes from the source, there is no contradiction seen. And so, again, if the mind is cultivated with devotion, definitely what is said here is true. Bhagavan is not saying something that is false, right? Is it authoritative and in the sense of discrediting something that you find somewhere else? I wouldn't say that. Going back to our analogy, maybe when you change the glasses, then the step appears slightly different length. Right? But the truth, when we take the essential aspects, see, the Puranas, they are very powerful and clever also. They have certain, they would talk about descriptive things, right? But the beauty of them is, into them they will insert philosophy. You have to read carefully. There are stories, and then suddenly there will be a quick shift, and there will be, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when you read, my mother had a 4-cop volume, I think, version of it. And I was always struck by this. There'll be a story going on, and suddenly, boom, there'll be the deepest philosophy in like 12 verses. They're all an excuse to introduce the Vedanta. So that then ordinary person also, enchanted by the stories, in all our villages of India and stuff, you see these same things are enacted in plays and street plays around the time of, various festivals, street dramas, slowly to make the mind enchanted by that. See, very often when we read some, nowadays, maybe I'm growing older, but we read all these novels and things like that, right? And when we were little children, they always, what is the moral of the story, right? Every story had to have a moral when we were very young, right? Then what happens, we grow up. And then when we grow up, we see that, well, things are not black and white. There are actually shades of gray, right? So slowly, the more and more advanced books we started reading did not ever give much of a moral. They sort of left it open for you to decide what is the moral. Sometimes there's no moral. Sometimes there is no logical end even to the story. It leaves you with a feeling. Correct? Yes or no? More advanced literature, right? But this can be dangerous too. in a way, as you grow up and you understand. Because then slowly everything we read has no definitive thing. The Puranas are a mastery of literature because they are entrancing stories and infused with nuggets. There is a real meat to them when you read. There is a purpose to them. And it's a divine purpose. This takes time to appreciate, but definitely it is there. The flip side is then, there can be debates and things like that. Right.
So,
I'm
like
glad you are.
on that note, Professor, my professor back in like my undergrad, he used to give an analogy that the what our great rishis has done is they have made this truth, which is otherwise might be complex to understand, simplified and demystified it. That way, a common mind can understand it. Just to equate, for example, I can't explain quantum physics to a person who has never seen a college or haven't studied that thing so far. But such deep, such profound knowledge, still they took it to every Hindu by demystifying it. So it takes great effort, and it was very thoughtful of them.
Absolutely. And the nature of our mind is we love stories. Storytelling is a very ancient art, and there in all cultures. Right? So storytellers were actually very, very highly regarded. Only now we don't very much regard them, but these kind of storytellers were very highly regarded in all societies, all cultures, if you go. Right? Ability to tell the great stories of culture is very highly valued. Right? Now it has fallen off somewhat, but its importance is very great. Who remembers the great stories of our heritage and culture? This is important actually. Many of you will remember that grandparents are the great source of stories. Right? In every family, they have some time also. Unlike the parents who are rushing from one thing to the other, grandparents, they are the repository of great stories. And ideally, uplifting stories, spiritual stories. Most of us can remember having learned something at the knee of grandparents, which is very transformative. So that's very good. And any other? Thoughts, reflections?
On verse 18, Dr. Shankar, I just love how Arjuna keeps on insisting, Bhagavan to go on, so, which is really nice. I mean,
Right.
especially for us listeners. I mean, we get to, listen to more examples and everything. So which is really nice.
It is. I'm so glad you're starting to enjoy it, because it is truly an enjoyable read. And for anyone with bhakti, Bhagavad Gita is very enjoyable. So it's sometimes difficult for me to convey to people who are not born in the tradition and the culture, who want to read it in a more as an interesting philosophical work. Sometimes people ask, what's a good translation of Bhagavad Gita? I'm at a loss a little bit, because it's difficult for me to be that objective about it. When your heart starts to sort of enjoy it so much, I'm glad you feel that also. Yeah, it's very, very delightful, very joyous. And I was just thinking, I wanted to share with you one sort of funny thing that, truly satsang is that way very nice, because everybody has stress in their day-to-day lives, but for an hour and a half, we can forget those things and enjoy these joyous because the other day I was watching on YouTube, very famous holy person with a very large following, and very, very, we are insignificant in our thing compared to such people with great followings and large programs and stuff. And one poor aspirant attendee of this program stood up and with great humility he said, sir, should we, being a married person, I have some stress and strain, should a married person follow yoga or not? A very genuine question, I thought. He asked it with great humility, but he was promptly laughed at and ridiculed in such a bad way. I felt very bad for this guy. I said, like, this cannot be a satsang, uh, this great personality laughed at him, said, oh, you have stress and strain and torture also, you got married, you are such a, problem is you think you are immortal, blah, 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 you're actually mortal. And exactly the reverse of what is there in Gita chapter 2. Okay, so I said, why would anybody go to a great personality and get abused like this? Nowadays it seems to me that all these cult followings are such an ego trip for the so-called great personality, and the people who follow are just getting abused. If you have a shred of brain, you would rather sit in your own house and do dhyanam than go and follow any of these things. Really, I'm telling you. I'm very glad that people here are not subject to that kind of madness. It is not satsang anymore. It is a tamasang, is what I say. That kind of thing, because there should never be this kind of abuse and ridicule of a genuine seeker. This is my firm belief. Satsang means you see the intelligence, the light, the beauty, brilliance in that gathering. But this has become a tamasha, you see. It has become a tamasha. After all, these kind of things, they enhance a cult. So it has become cultism. The message is important. The messenger is not important. This is the main point. But so yes, stress, strain, these things are a reality of life of householder in the 2020. There's no point in ridiculing it. It's there. But we can still enjoy satsang, practice for 1.5 hours, get a break, get a relief, and take that back into the world and enjoy and get some benefit. So I think that to me is the meaning of satsang. We cannot deny the realities of day-to-day life, right? So they are there, but they can be still effectively dealt with through the message, right? So Bhagavan patiently explained to Arjuna, even though he lightly laughing said in the beginning, he took the time to chant this full 18 chapters to give him that benefit. This is important. I think satsang, the true seekers with sattva, when they approach, there should be a nice feeling at the end of it. This is important. So I hope you had a nice satsang, and we will meet again in a week, and I will say our farewell mantra and then we'll disperse. Cha? Namaste. Om Tacham Yora Vranimahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Daivihi Swastirastu Naham Swastirmanushabhyah Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shanno Astu Dvipadehe Sham Chatushpade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.